Welcome to this episode of YouTube where we want to share with you the news that we euthanized Luna on the 26th of November. This was after about a 10-month bout with a spindle cell sarcoma cancer that became pretty aggressive, and the original surgery for this was in March 2019, where we did complete a biopsy. The veterinarians were able to remove the mass in its entirety, but the biopsy didn't reveal a lot of information. There were some cells that were questionable, and then by July the growth had returned, and at that time it was a aggressive form of spindle cell sarcoma that was diagnosed, and so she's been battling this since July. This video footage was actually taken this weekend, where she was still mobile. She was up and around. She was very cognitive of what was going on. She is the definition of resilience. If you look at resilience being the ability to recover quickly from difficulties, we saw that as a pup. We saw that as an adult. And like I said, this weekend with the wolf care staff. We're picking up some branches from our first snowfall that broke off some of the upper branches, and she does a little surfing on the branches. So you can see a little bit of that Luna spirit that was always investigating, always wanting to be part of operations, always certainly wanting to control things. She had a very dominant personality. We later learned that some of that personality trait may have just been her way of dealing with challenges that she's had, dealing with protecting herself from others taking advantage of her in her weakened condition. She had an issue with her back right leg, but it did not stop her from wanting interactions. And we did a lot of body work, and staff, even like I said, this was filmed on Saturday. We're very diligent in monitoring her condition. So we had a vet check on Monday. She had been doing great over the weekend. We had a vet check on Monday. We noticed there was a little bit of weeping on that neck. And by yesterday, we see the swelling where that mass must have had some rupture internally. You can see the swelling on her neck. She's scratching. She's having a difficult time, again, with the mass itself or whatever is going on internally. And I could just see it in her eyes, actually, when we work with a wolf this closely. And staff are with these animals 7 days a week. We know their attitudes. We know what they're kind of expressing from the standpoint of normal behavior versus abnormal behavior. And I could just tell by the way she was whining and the way she was scratching, and that, it was definitely had gotten to the point where it was a problem. She was still very alert. She watched the vet come in, and we made sure that everything remained very positive for her. We brought her into the vestibule where she normally was fed. We gave her an immobilization, so she went to sleep first before she was euthanized. Gryzor was right in the mix. He was out in the enclosure behind the vestibule, and we wanted to make sure that, again, he was comfortable with it. But the loss of Luna is a significant loss for not just us from the standpoint of wolf care, the visitors, the people who knew her, but just the potential wolf education that this wolf brought to this center. So we are going to share more about her life history on our webinar on the 13th of December. If you want to log in and be able to participate in that webinar, we'll actually share quite a bit of footage from her 7 years of life. So then Gryzor's left alone. Gryzor has been alone before. It is something that we choose, we try to avoid at all costs. We try to make sure that the wolves are compatible. But at this particular time, Denali is the next wolf to go into retirement. He's in the exhibit pack. He's not ready to go into retirement, nor am I certain that Gryzor is ready for Denali to join him. Those two have a little bit of history. As a matter of fact, you see the top of his head, some of the hair that is not formed in there, and the way that his right eye is a little bit misshapen. That is because of some conflict with him and Denali. And it's not all Denali's fault. Gryzor was actively going after Denali. Denali just defending himself, being so much taller than Gryzor, had a lot of jaw-sparring bite wounds to the top of Gryzor's head. Gryzor is still raised like urinating. which means he's still pretty confident. And so we're not certain that Gryzor is going to be not ready to take up where he left off on this last reuniting of Denali. We did finish some roof line work. We did finish an observation area, so if Gryzor does decline, we are ready to be able to monitor that. And then in the exhibit pack, things are going pretty well. They're actually sharing some bedding space, all but Axel. Sometimes Axel's just a bit much for everyone to have in close proximity. He is testing quite a bit more. Grayson being a little bit more subordinate to him. You'll see Grayson in a process of a squat urination or standing urination, whereas Axel's pretty much raised leg urination, marking everything. So we do see a difference between the two Arctics. They do love snow. They're racing around in the snow. They're rolling in it. They're having a great time. Axel, in particular, really likes to run through the snow. Grayson oftentimes is the recipient of some chases. Denali and Bolts, they are active but not as excited about snow as these 3-year-olds. So we do see some circadian pattern activity. So circadian pattern just basically means 24-hour day activity. 4 o'clock is the time these guys ramp up. So we will share more again, like I said, on the webinar on the 13th of not just Luna's circumstance, but we will also share live footage from the exhibit pack as well as from Gryzor. So if you want to register, go to wolf.org, check out programs and webinars, and you can join us on the 13th. And then next year we have 14 webinars. The webinar subscriptions are already online if you want to check that out. Thanks for watching.